Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is my usual weekly technical analysis outlook videos in which I will comment on what I think will happen to some FX crosses and equities. I have another series running, the Financial Market series, that breaks down topics in the financial market in ways that are easy to understand. You can find the links in the description about these videos. As always, before I begin, I want to clarify that this is not a solicitation or recommendation to enter into long or short positions in the names that I will mention in this video, nor do I have existing positions in them. This is not financial advice, and if you're using this content as a guide to trade, you are doing so at your own risk. Alright, let's start. These are the names that I have covered in past videos, and I will do a quick review on each of them. I will also be ceasing coverage on several names as well. Do check them out towards the end of this video. I've put in timestamps, so please use them to skip to the names that interest you. I highlighted that the DXY may be forming a rising wedge in the video on the 29th of December. This bearish pattern was completed on the 20th of January while I was on a break, so I did not have the time to update this. Since the completion, DXY had the corrective phase over here and was rejected by the resistance trend line on the 3rd of February and fell. I believe the DXY is in the bearish resumption phase, and the latest price action over here looks a bit like a rejection at the 20-day simple moving average. So I believe the bias for DXY is tilted towards the downside. Textbook target of this bearish pattern is at 105.38, roughly another 2% down from here. Similar to the DXY, I identified a rising wedge in the dollar Sing on the 29th of December. Dollar Sing completed its rising wedge on the 20th of January as well and is now bearish. The textbook target is at 1.3362. Dollar Sing again closed within the cloud, so downside is still preferred. I highlighted dollar yen's bearish potential in the video on the 12th of January. This rising wedge was completed on the 27th of January, tilting dollar yen into a bearish outlook with a textbook target at 144.96. But watch out, there is a support at 149.34 that can bounce dollar yen higher when tested, and if this happens, dollar yen has a chance of forming another bearish pattern. But that is a story for another video. Switching to a weekly chart, I want to highlight that dollar yen may also be forming a bearish pattern on the weekly chart, a head and shoulders top. And it looks something like this. Just stretched it. So the latest weekly candlestick has just formed, likely from the second shoulder of the head and shoulders top, and we have had a close within below the 20-week simple moving average, as well as closing within the Ichimoku cloud. Still, we need bearish confirmation on the weekly chart, which is via a weekly close below the neckline at 140.25. I noted to stay bearish on NVIDIA in a video on the 12th of January because of signs of downside. NVIDIA initially rebounded after that video but formed another bearish engulfing on the 24th of January and just gapped down on the 27th of January. It reached a low of 113.01 on the 3rd of February, which is around 91% of the textbook target at 111.38. I consider this bearish pattern to be a success, but will not cease coverage just yet, just to see how much further NVIDIA can fall. I last covered Nissin on the 19th of January and I highlighted to stay bearish due to a head and shoulders top. Nissin continues to trend lower, and note that the next support at 31.24 was just broken this week. So expect further downside going forward. The textbook target of this head and shoulders top is at 2,539.5. I reiterated in the video on the 15th of December that Hugo Boss is bullish and the textbook target of the falling wedge is at 47.39. Hugo Boss reached a high of 46.65 on the 31st of January. About 91% of the textbook target has been reached. I consider this a success, but will not cease coverage on this name just yet, just to see how much further Hugo Boss can go. In the video on the 12th of January, I highlighted that Roche Holding may be forming a head and shoulders bottom that requires a weekly close above 286.8 to complete. This week, Roche has completed this bullish pattern. I'm bullish on Roche now, and the textbook target is at 362.5. Let's not forget, chart patterns usually occur in 3 phases. We just had the completion over here. Next could be the corrective phase, especially if upside is rejected by a resistance, and then the resumption phase after bouncing off a support. In the video on the 27th of October last year, I identified Toyota Motor as forming a head and shoulders top, but noted that the second shoulder over here as being vague and not well formed. I would now like to revise the second shoulder from here to here. Now this reversal looks better defined. Note that Toyota was rejected by the cloud over here this week. Quite sharply, I must add, so downside is preferred. Completion of this bearish pattern will be via a weekly close below the neckline around 2,388, and the textbook target upon completion is at 954.4. I'm done with the reviews, and now I'll move on to names I will cease coverage in, starting off with the Euro-Swiss. In the last video on the 22nd of December, I stayed bearish on the Euro-Swiss, targeting 0.9069 due to the completion of a symmetrical triangle. I will now cease coverage on this cross because clearly Euro-Swiss has rallied above the cloud and the outlook is now bullish. I'm suspecting that Euro-Swiss is forming another pattern, and I will cover this in a future video if this develops well. In the video on the 19th of January, I noted that $CNH is bearish with a textbook target at 7.2427 due to the rising wedge completion. This target was reached on the 24th of January, and $CNH has since rebounded. All in all, $CNH has reached 100% of this textbook target, and therefore I'm ceasing coverage on $CNH. Next, I'm ceasing coverage on Meta Platforms. I highlighted that this name may be forming a rising wedge on 22nd of December, but this bearish pattern was invalidated on the 27th of January. But take a look at the latest price action. It is excessively above the upper Bollinger, and this usually leads to 1 to 3 sessions of a pullback. Gold did not have a lot of success. In fact, a lot of precious metals have invalidated their bearish patterns. Gold completed a rising wedge over here in the week of 11th of November, but has invalidated this bearish pattern via a breakout above its last high of 2,790.1. I will now cease coverage on gold. Silver also didn't do well. I identified silver as having completed a bearish pattern head and shoulders top over here, but since then silver has rallied and closed above the cloud. Bullish outlook is preferred, and in doing so it broke back above the second shoulder, which invalidated this bearish pattern. I will now cease coverage on silver. There are also names that I have pointed out as having upside or downside risks, but these patterns were not completed. Among them was IBM. I highlighted a potential double top over here, but price action gapped up strongly on the 30th of January. Therefore, this bearish potential of IBM has been invalidated, and I will cease coverage on this name. Ferrari did not complete its head and shoulders top, and the rally over here on the 4th of February invalidated this bearish pattern. I will also cease coverage on Ferrari going forward. Mastercard went the same way as Meta Platforms. Initially, it was forming a rising wedge. After getting rejection, it was going smoothly, but then the rally over here in the week that ended on the 27th of January broke above the resistance trendline, therefore invalidating Mastercard's bearish potential. I will now cease coverage on Mastercard. Diageo has also lost its bullish potential from a potential double bottom. This week's sharp decline, gapping down in fact, has invalidated this double bottom. I will now cease coverage on Diageo. Finally, the last name for this video, ABB Ltd. I identified this name as having the potential for a decline due to a potential double top, but the week of 20th of January, the rally broke above the high and therefore invalidated this bearish pattern. I will cease coverage on ABB Ltd going forward. That's the end of my sharing. I will give updates to these crosses and names only when there are meaningful development, and in the next video, it will highly likely be on new crosses and new names. If you like what I'm doing, please help me out by giving me a like. Please subscribe and hit the notification button for more videos like this.